What you're seeing right now is not an error in the way that I rendered this video. It is not an error in the way that I recorded this gameplay. This is actually how this game runs on native Xbox 360 hardware. I mentioned before in my look back at Perfect Dark Zero that I would be taking a look at one more Xbox 360 launch game in my collection. And today that's exactly what we're doing. This is Quake 4, which I still believe is a console launch exclusive for the 360. While you can get this game on PC, I believe the 360 is the only console version for this game available, although someone else can correct me if I'm wrong. It seems pretty exciting to have an id-developed shooter available to you right from the get-go of that system, but I have to say that out of all the games I played in recent memory, in fact, even the ones that I can remember from way back in the day, this is one of the least performant games I have ever experienced. I got sick playing this game twice. Twice I gave myself headaches. In fact, one time I felt so nauseous I had to actually lay down. Yet I still persevered and forced myself through this entire game, 12 to 15 hours of this campaign experience, because I actually really liked the core game. I thought this game was actually very engaging. I loved the level design. I loved the way it looked, the sound, the gunplay, all that was great. It's just that at every single turn, every single portion of this experience, you are going to be met with severe frame rate issues and stuttering, and it never bottoms out. I am just shocked that they even managed to release a game in this state. As far as I'm concerned, it is unplayable. And it's not so much that it dips to like the mid-20s and it's basically hovering in the mid-20s for the vast majority of its time. It dips as low as the teens, and I've seen single-digit frame rates from this game. It is so bad there are just pages of threads on forums of people discussing this game back in the day, and I'm so baffled because you had a game that launching on a system that allowed over-the-air updates to the consumers. They could have fixed this game. And while yes, online gaming and the concept of game updates was brand new for the time, right? It wasn't something that was very common and mainstream like we see in these days. The point is that people knew how to do it. There were a ton of launch games I played with updates. People understood how to get these patches out there, and yet Bethesda did nothing to this game. In fact, they could have saved it even to this day. They could have made this game backwards compatible on the Xbox One and Series family of consoles, and it would have just resolved any of the frame rate issues that we were seeing here. And now that Microsoft owns Bethesda, I'm sitting here scratching my head wondering why not? You have literally the entire development resources to do this. In fact, I don't even think it would take much time at all. It would just be an additional game added to the backwards compatible library. So, it wouldn't take as much work, I think, to go back in there and do it, because you don't need to upgrade the resolution or anything. You just make it compatible with the new systems, and then the new consoles through just grunt alone will power through all of the frame rate issues that I experienced in this game. But unfortunately not. This game is locked to the Xbox 360 hardware, not backwards compatible whatsoever, and I'm just wondering why the hell not. In fact, it even gets more bizarre because Bethesda would end up re-releasing this game 5 to 6 years later on the Xbox 360, and not even as a Game of the Year edition or a special, remastered collection or anything like that. They just re-released the game, and the re-released version on disc is, from what I understand, actually resolves all of the frame rate issues with the original version. Now, I wasn't aware of this, so when I was buying games for my collection, I saw, Quake 4 released for the 360 as a launch title in 2005. I bought the launch version because those are the versions that I like to have. I like to have the original versions of the game when they came out. I don't like to do greatest hits or platinum hits or any of these special collections. I just want the original game in my set. But it still begs the question, they clearly resolved all the issues and were able to actually put the effort in printing out a new version of the game on disc and sell it to people, but they won't actually patch the original version of the game. And so it's just perpetually stuck in this terrible performance state. And I can't recommend it. As good as this game is, I got sick twice while playing it, and the frame rate doesn't improve whatsoever throughout the experience. As I was looking up on these forum posts, a lot of people were also discussing that if you lower the resolution of your 360's video output, like if you change it from 720p to 480p, you'll actually get a better performing game because it will render this game in a lower resolution depending on your console's video output. I tested that myself. I have an original launch Xbox 360 that's pre-HDMI, and I changed the video resolution. I switched off between 1080p, even 1080i interlace, which is garbage, 720p and 480p. All of them did not seem to resolve any of the frame rate issues. So I think that was just a fan theory that a lot of people just kind of put out there, but it didn't seem to improve or resolve any of the frame rate issues that I was having. It was still stuttering like crazy. There is still severe drops to the teens and single digits regardless of my video resolution output on my console. It just makes the entire combat in this game so frustrating because you have to fight the enemies and then also fight the game with the frame rate and the lagginess and the controls at the same time. It's not a great experience, and it's sad because it took a lot from me to actually force myself through and beat this game. There are many times where I was like, I just gotta quit on this. This is just almost impossible. And I liked the game so much that I just forced myself through it, and I made it through the game. I got the achievements. And now I'm even more frustrated after playing it because it's a good game. Like, if you just completely remove all of the technical issues, the frame rate issues, let's say everything with this game was completely resolved, it's a excellent first-person shooter. I think that embodies some of the great, more horror elements that we saw in Doom 3. It's a more action-packed on that end. But I really enjoyed this game, and I knew that this game was good while playing it. But I swear to God, I wanted to throw my controller at the screen. I wanted to bend and crack the disc in my console. I just don't understand why they would ever release a game in this state, and why as well that they would never fix it. Like, it almost makes no sense to me because they put in the effort to fix this game and then re-release it. They actually had to print out new physical copies for this game and sell them at retail, right? Like they put in all that extra development time in order to optimize this game and re-release it the way it should have been the first time. But I personally think that it would have been cheaper and more efficient to just optimize the original code, release a patch, and then, maybe just plop it again on a new disc. Maybe that's just what they did. Maybe they actually did exactly that, but they just didn't release the patch to the public. But there's just no excuse for this type of experience. Like, you thought Cyberpunk 2077 was bad. This is on another level entirely. It is terrible, and it just doesn't seem to make sense whatsoever. It's just an unoptimized mess because it's not like when the action heats up and there's a lot of enemies on screen, the frame rate really buckles, but most of the time it's fine when you're just kind of walking around the environments. You just look in one direction and all of a sudden the frame rate dips. You're just walking around these corridors and nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden you feel a massive stutter. It happens at random intervals and there's no logical reason behind it. So that's just the telltale marks of an unoptimized game. And it's just bizarre to me that they actually never fixed it and had the means to fix it. This wasn't a 6th generation title where a lot of people were not online yet. This is the Xbox 360 we're talking about, and a ton of games from that era, including a large set of the launch games that I played and reviewed on this channel, all had patches. So people knew how to do it. It could have been done, and it wasn't done here. So I don't want this entire video just to turn into a rant about a game that is 18 years old that most people probably don't care and are not going to play anymore, but I just wanted to put that out there because I was experiencing this game for the first time, and it's unfortunate that this is the experience that was given to people. And regardless, even if I bought this game on launch day, it's the same experience that I would have had all these years later. They never patched the game, so this is just it. So let me muster up the courage here to talk about what I like about Quake 4. It's mostly everything. Actually, when it comes to the creative decisions of this game, I do like it a lot. I think visually it's a very nice looking title. It's running on that old Doom 3 engine, that old id Tech engine. I forgot which number that is, but it's running on a familiar engine here, and it does share some graphical assets, a similar somewhat art direction. You can definitely tell that this was taken from the Doom 3 era, but I actually found the art direction of this game to be very attractive, and I pretty much liked everything that I was seeing. I had a good time kind of running through these laboratories, these big facilities. You kind of get the joy of being on a different planet, and the art direction just comes together very nicely. I think that even still to this day, while things may look a little bit dated and definitely of that mid 2000s era, you can still tell what everything in the environment is supposed to be, and I just found it to be a kind of a timeless classic in the way that this game looked. I think the gunplay as well is very nice. It's a lot more action-packed than Doom 3. Definitely a lot more emphasis on large-scale fights, which I really like. You'll fight enemies that are just hundreds of feet in the air, like giant creatures. And it's pretty cool. I think it's definitely what helped me push myself to actually complete this game, because I was really just enjoying all the aspects of its design. It felt like a very classic, action film or something like that. Something that was just kind of rooted in history that you can return back to, and it's just fun. So I really enjoyed the creative aspects of this game, its art direction, its gameplay. I think that again, if there were no issues with this experience, then it would have been another great first-person shooter from id. But I can't recommend it, because at the end of the day, when you purchase a game, it needs to be playable. And most people, if I got sick twice after playing this game and forcing myself all the way through it, there's just no way that I think there's just no way that the general consumer will be able to, even stomach playing this game for more than an hour or two. And like I mentioned earlier, it's just bizarre to me because they re-released this game as a separate physical release that kind of updated and fixed all the issues. That's definitely the version to get if you're planning on playing this game on Xbox 360, and you can definitely tell it's a new version because it features the updated Xbox 360 box art. So you're easily able to tell which version, of the game that you're getting there. And I haven't played that version or seen it myself, but from what I heard, it does resolve a lot of the core technical issues that the launch version had. Again, it's still inexcusable because they had the means to fix it, and clearly they put in the effort to fix it. I think they just wanted to either sell it to the consumers at a exorbitant price. You're basically buying a patch for a game that came out, several years prior, when the actual updated version was sold. So I don't necessarily agree with the business aspect of it. But, this is Bethesda we're talking about, and that's what they did. As an introduction to the Quake franchise for me, I'm definitely interested in playing more of the games. This game on disc actually comes with a remastered version of Quake 2 for the 360, which actually runs and looks superior to this game, if you would believe it. The Quake 2 that comes on disc with this game actually runs in native 1080p on the Xbox 360, which is one of the very few titles that actually runs at that native resolution and at 60 frames per second. And I played it for a couple hours, and it's a perfectly solid 60 FPS as it should be. And the game actually looks really phenomenal because it's running at such a high resolution. Keep in mind, the 360 only launched with 1080i interlaced resolution, which is terrible. Never use interlaced resolutions when gaming. But after a year or so being on the market, they added 1080p support to the console. So yeah, you could play that game in native 1080p and it looks phenomenal. And it even comes with achievements as well. Unfortunately, they're not worth any gamer score points though. So Quake 4 to me is just an interesting experiment. I take a look back at this game and I'm just baffled at the state that it was released in. It's questionable that it was never fixed many years after, and then it's even more bizarre that the developers re-released an updated version for the game that fixed all the issues but never patched in the original launch version. I just don't know what went into the decision making there. I don't know why this wasn't a big stink. Maybe it was at the time that I just wasn't paying attention. But if you're actually interested in playing this game and wanting to really enjoy it, that is the version to get on console at least. Of course, you can get this game on PC and it just runs perfectly fine on any hardware to this day. But yeah, I really hope that we just get a remake or something just to bring back the Quake franchise, because it's been dormant for a very long time. You know, we got Doom back, and Doom's better than ever. I would like to see something similar done for the Quake franchise. But when ignoring all the technical hiccups that this experience provides, I really enjoyed the game at the end of the day. I just can't recommend it under any circumstances unless you're just curious and you want to see it for yourself how much of a train wreck the performance is. Just don't get sick like I did. Alright guys, thank you very much for checking out this reminiscing video. Let me know if you played Quake 4 when it came out on the 360 or if you played the updated version many years later. That's it for the Xbox 360 launch titles in my collection. There's no more to discuss. We are going to be moving on to the rest of the games that came out the following year in 2006, and then I will get to the PS3 launch titles when I finish those up. So all that is coming up as far as reminiscing videos go. I hope you guys are excited, and I look forward to sharing my thoughts with you. Thank you guys very much, and have a great day.